Dead meme.
Alright guys, we're coming back with Sevtech Ages. We're doing the tutorial series. Where I left you off was right here. We've created the Twilight Forest dimension, and I've also discussed how to go about doing this. This is more optional, but you will require it to get the journey map on the side there. So you also need a bunch of items from the Twilight Forest, but let's jump in and we're going to begin the adventure portion of Sevtech Ages. So there's some important and useful tools that I think everyone should have when going to the Twilight Forest. Of course, the magical map. You'll require some items from this place in order to make it. You just put some paper around this magic map focus. These torch fairies are underground. You'll see them, they kind of glow. These bugs, you'll find them on the trees. And this feather, you're going to have to kill these little blackbirds roaming around. And then that will allow you to make that map. And this map will let you see, as you can see, I've been up and about in this dimension already. This will give you an idea of where the bosses are and how to find them. And while we're here, let's look at baubles. These climbing gloves, pretty easy to make. I'll leave that up to you in JEI. This will make it possible for you to scale a sheer cliff or a wall, like straight up. If you right-click on it in this menu, you can turn it on and off because it does get in the way. I also recommend some form of fall protection. Slime boots are acceptable as well. I just like how quick the dog boots make you move and how much protection they provide. So, other than that, you're going to need this tool mostly to find your way around. I would like to point to the weird little lumps. Like, those are dungeons that are... they're optional. But you're going to want to start collecting these charms. Let me see if I can call one up for you. Yeah, these charms of keeping. You could find these in treasure boxes in pretty much all the dungeons. I think some monsters drop them, but I haven't... I don't remember seeing it. And you're going to require these in order to unlock the journey map. You're going to need to collect a bunch of them. So you're probably going to spend a lot of time here. One thing to keep in mind, if you're playing with other people and you're not allied, like you're not in the Together Forever system as team, everyone's going to have to get their own iron apple. And so that is not fun. So let's look up the iron apple. You'll make this, and this is how you're going to basically get the journey map. It unlocks after creating a weird crafting table as well. So you'll need another map focus, you'll need a blank map, so you'll need yet another one. An empty map, you can use a Minecraft version. You'll need golden charms of keeping, so you'll need to upgrade the bronze ones that you're likely to find. This comes from the Troll Cave, if I remember correctly. So we'll have to play further through Twilight Forest than what is required to advance. And this comes from... the Betweenlands. Sometimes you can get really lucky and find these inside of a vase or loot in a lower level dungeon. And it also helps you get around the swamp a lot easier because the terrain is kind of brutal. And of course, more Twilight Forest, this drops off a boss that you'll confront anyway. Alright, so I've moved on to the first boss. I'm going to post a link that goes to the wiki and the description that shows you the kill order and what you need to do in order to advance. There is a progression system in this pack, or in this portion of the pack, that is independent to the typical one that we're accustomed to seeing. So Twilight Forest is an oldie but a goodie. You probably have played it if you're playing any sort of mod pack seriously. But this is the first boss that you're going to require to beat. And he's basically shielded. You're unable to hurt him. I'll just drop into normal mode, just so you can see it. There, he throws ender pearls at you. He teleports around. He has a teammate. The one throwing the green stuff is the one you want. You want to knock it back at him, right? And see, he took some damage. There's 3 of them now. That red one is going to explode. But I expect you to be a combat expert by now. With full armor and full nutrition, this should be a joke for you. Alright, you've defeated the Lich. You've looted his treasure, the scepter. Without the scepter, if you enter this swamp, you're going to receive a permanent hunger debuff as long as you're here. So the next dungeon, it looks a bit like this. Sometimes they're a little bit cleaner and nicer than others, but this is the Minotaur Maze. I strongly recommend that you bring a ton of torches, an absolute ton. And a method for exploring, you should choose a like either torches on the left or right so that you spend a lot less time looping around. The map that you get does not help you too much down here, and you won't have the journey map yet. So if I use the philosophy of always putting torches on the left when I turn around, and I see them on the right, I know I'm returning to a direction I've already explored. So I'll leave that up to you. I'm not going to make any sort of demand of how you play your game. And of course, the climbing gloves, when you want to escape, as you can see, the climbing gloves make life very easy. And when you have to drop down to the next layer, you're not going to take so much damage, or you don't need to bring building blocks. Another thing to keep in mind, you're going to need some of this maze stone. So you're going to encounter some traps down here. It's going to destroy the terrain. Pick up the maze stone, use your chisel to turn them all into one kind to carry them out, because you're going to get a huge collection. And then when you need them later on to upgrade your crafting table, the luminous crafting table, you're going to need some of that maze stone. You're going to use the chisel to get the various parts. When we come to that, though, I'll show it to you in more detail. So bring lots of torches, bring in a method of exploration, collect maze stone. The boss down here is relatively durable, but not hard. He's easy to cheese out. It'll take forever to find him. He's just a Minotaur cow, and you'll figure it out. Just hit him, you'll die. Okay, you've defeated the Minotaur, or whatever they happen to call him. He drops some beef stroganoff. You're going to eat that up, and it'll allow you to access the fire swamp, which is typically in the middle of the maze biome area, or that swampy area. If you come here without eating the beef stroganoff, you take a great deal of damage. I don't believe it would be overly possible to actually defeat the Hydra while on fire. He spawns in this little area here, so you're kind of looking for this little loop. The other neat thing, too, is a whole bunch of that. These things spawn here. So if you're into blood magic and you're having trouble finding this ore, you can get a whole bunch of it in this biome. But this Hydra, he's not tough to beat. Maybe bring some building blocks, something to maybe build a barrier to hide behind, and a ranged weapon, highly recommended, and a bucket of water. So when you get set on fire, you can deal with that. So I imagine that by this point, you're probably good enough at combat that I don't need to show it to you. When he opens up its mouth, like bow that guy, give him a slice with the sword if you can hit him, or shurikens if you decided to go that route, because Tinkerer's Construct gives you quite a bit of options. Alright, so it's Dark Forest time. After you've defeated the Hydra and you've picked up the fiery blood, you will no longer receive the debuff for blindness when you enter the Dark Forest. But it is still exceptionally dark. I've got my brightness turned up so that you're not just looking at a black screen. So depending on how hardcore you're looking to play this, you're going to be in pretty much darkness no matter what. The other thing to keep in mind, like, you could set this forest on fire. We attempted it. It doesn't really clear out all that much. So lots of torches again. One thing to keep in mind, bring a trophy from one of the enemies you've defeated with you. So I'm going to show you why in a second. Well, this is actually kind of funny. Normally this doesn't happen, but a dungeon spawned in and ruined the actual dungeon entrance. So you're going to see the Stronghold shield, and there's going to be a little altar that normally would be about here that you're going to drop the trophy on, and this will open. This dungeon actually has protection. You're unable to alter the blocks until you actually put a trophy down, and then you can begin the process of exploring this place. And as you can see, there's some interesting enemies here. You know, just like with the maze, bring a lot of torches, have a method that you're going to decide on how to explore. This place is pretty rough. The upside is you can get a lot of rare materials here, like the nightly metals from the various enemies. Again, too, there's treasure boxes here. You can get those charm keepers, or the keeper charms, in order to create your iron apple. And the boss here, I wouldn't say he's hard. He's easy to cheese, but without high nutrition or half-decent armor, he can do you in pretty fast. So just keep that in mind. When you bust into his room, just be ready to run out and heal up. It's similar to, say, I don't know, Link to the Past. If you ever played that Legend of Zelda game, and it's like the first boss you get the courage pendant from, I believe, if I remember correctly, like a 20-year-old game. And that bot, so he kind of dances around the room with his teammates, and you slowly kill them, and some of them have different weapons and things like that. So, but you'll figure it out. Bring a shield, get some good armor. By this point, you sometimes find healing potions. Just, be ready for a fight. It's not hard, but if you go in there unprepared, you're gonna lose. So let's move on. All right, so it's time to move on to the Ergast Tower. And so that's in the middle of this dark forest. And getting there, it's not awful, but there's a couple options you have. With your climbing gloves equipped, you can just make your way up. I am in creative mode, so it won't be quite as easy for you, and don't use a lumber axe. But when you're up here, your map can show you the way, of course, as well, where the forest starts to kind of die. That's how you know you're on the right path. So, I would like to show you more of these bosses, but I've killed them without generating an entirely new giant chunk of Twilight Forest. You won't be able to see them. But while we're here, I'm going to show you the method in which to deal with the tower. So you can go through the tower. It's a cool dungeon. Like, if you're really into dungeon crawling, knock yourself out. If you're not that interested, let's take your climbing gloves, and up you go. So I think I'm just going to cut to what you're looking for. Okay, so when you climb yourself to the top of the tower, I'll let you take a look. It's a heck of a climb. It's not hard with these climbing gloves. There's typically a boss here. He's the Ergast. If you choose to fight him, just bring a bow. He's not that tough. There's a couple little things here too. There's a bunch of gas that spawn in this room. If you kill them and then step on this pressure plate, it will make the fight a little bit easier as well. It's a really cool fight. I don't really want to spoil it just in case you haven't seen it before. But that's the tip. And when you're near the top, it's usually not this destroyed. Usually this room is intact. But you're going to basically be looking for this room. It's going to show you a bunch of recipes. There's going to be some pistons. You need these to build some of the other parts. When you come down a bit further, you're going to see a little gizmo in here that's the reactor that you're looking for in order to complete this train engine. We had an issue with our server where the server rolled back and some characters got corrupted. So some of my things are blank, but this is the achievement you would get. You also get this one by collecting the pistons upstairs. And then with these components, you're going to be able to finish this off, along with a few other things that are we're going to go through the crafting method of. It's a little bit of work, but don't worry, we'll take you through it. Okay, now we're getting ready to do the actual craft. We're going to talk about these components, how you get them. A sticky piston, I think you can figure it out. A gold chest, gas tier. I believe in you. You'll work it out. This is why we climbed the Ergast Tower. It came in that weird little box we found. This guy, you're going to need to visit. You need to visit the Betweenlands to get this Crimson Middle Gem. We'll do a brief look at him. I'm going to restart this save in single player to protect the integrity of our server. We had an issue where every time someone goes through that Betweenlands portal, 50-50 shot, it seems something happened. We had a crash. Well, Windows updated in the middle of the night and crashed the server. So I'll cover that in a moment. The steel leaf rod, you got a couple of ways to go about getting this. You can use your Tinker's Construct and you can create a mold. You can also make a plate, use the anvil. By now, you should know how this system works. This is an option to you very soon, but we're not there yet. And this cauldron, I'm sure you could figure that out. An anvil, you could figure that out. And the fiery gear. So the blood that was dropped from the Hydra, if we go into here, We should be able to see what it's made from. Molten Fiery. The Fiery Tears and the Fiery Blood, you have a couple of options. One of these comes from the Hydra. It's probably the easiest one. You'll make these fiery ingots. You need 4 per gear. And from here, let's see what you can do with it. You can pour it into a cast mold. Yeah, so you'll throw those ingots into your smeltery furnace, 4 per. You'll make a gear cast. I showed that to you in a previous video. And that will allow you to make the engine using this crafting altar. Now we need to cover how to make this altar as well. All right, so we're in the Betweenlands. Booted up this in single player in order to move us along. You're going to find these gems underwater. This is like the most common place I've encountered them. I've seen them in treasure boxes and whatnot as well in some of the dungeons. This seems to be the way that I've always encountered them because of the way I typically play these mods. I explore, map out an area, then dungeon dive. They typically kind of glow when they're in the river. There's some jerks that live in the river, so keep that in mind. I created a little setup here just so that you can get an idea of what you're going to need. So here's the purifier. You're going to require some of the metals that you can only get here. You can find it in treasure boxes. There's some monsters underground that drop it. This is probably the worst part about doing this, is finding this octane. There's some weird monuments laying around where it's like the whole eyeball is like a block of it, and you can you can figure out what to do from there. And you'll put some swamp water in this thing with a little bit of, I'm gonna plunder our friend's treasure box here. With a little bit of this, you'll put it in there, and one of these gems, because when you mine it, this is what you get. You don't get the gem, you get this weird ugly block. You throw it in there and it'll cook it down. And that's how you get these gems, so that you can create these controllers. This will allow you to complete your Tinker's Construct Foundry so that you could actually use the mod in its completeness, like with the whole alloy smelting, and it's significantly faster than using the melter. This is the item that's going into the coal engine, so you need one of those red gems. You need one of these blue gems in order to finish off your smeltery, or you can just wait till stage 3 and make one of these guys. So simple enough. You get to visit the Nether good times. So where we left off, you have the Starlight Crafting Altar. This is the last thing I showed you how to make in the Astral Sorcery mod. You're going to need to upgrade it in order to fit all of the material from the previous craft, or for the craft that we previously discussed, the Tiny Coal Engine. So as you can see, you need some of that maze stone that was located in the Twilight Forest. You're going to need some live root. You more than likely encountered a whole bunch of this stuff, like the iron ingots, or iron wood ingots, the firefly jar. This guy's a compound item. You'll make him with, well, this is the recipe. So with that, you'll upgrade to this. And this requires a new altar. It is, well, I already discussed how much I enjoy how well this part works out. One other issue is the amount of starlight you get. Like, we'll quickly. All right, this is the crafting recipe. This is what it's going to look like when you built your altar. As you can see, a significant amount of starlight is required. All right, so closer to 19k is midnight. So notice I'm in one of those places of power that we used this guy to discover. Oh, sorry about that. See the blue aura? That's only visible with this. It's pretty much midnight, and I don't have enough starlight. This is obnoxious. You're going to have to build this altar almost as high as you can, and then you'll be able to actually craft this. You might get lucky, and the place of power you find is significantly more dense than the one I've got, and you won't need to do that. But finding this thing, finding one that is dense enough, you're going to be searching for a long time. I'm going to leave that choice up to you. We're going to circle back to this mapping, because you're going to need to make this table. I don't want to cover that now. The video is going long. And you'll use your celestial altar, which you'll have to rebuild again to make this coal engine. That will push you into stage 3. So we'll come back and deal with the iron apple probably in the next video. But since I have you here, thanks for showing up. Hopefully this is helpful. Let me know if I'm missing something or if I need to do something better. And of course, if you hit like and subscribe, I would be grateful. And see you all again.